stand-ups, but we've had politicians on here. We've had,
Okay,
yeah, cops. That was a big one back in 2020.
interesting.
Yeah,
All right. And we are back live with the Blame Girl podcast with
Mr. Terry Wayne.
and welcome Nate Roscoe in the house.
Hi, how are you guys?
I'm good. I'm good. How was your weekend, Nate?
Oh, it's been good so far. I ran a show last night in St. Pete, Florida, where I'm based out of, and then
Oh, really?
the day before, I actually took the night off stand up because I've done stand up every night this week except Friday. But on Thursday, I actually got heckled, and we can save that for later if you want. But yeah, I got booed for the first time in my life by one person,
No, tell
Okay.
us
and
about it.
We definitely
yeah,
go
I mean,
dig in.
yeah, I have the audio recording, but it definitely did not go well for her. So I'm gonna,
Well, that's good though. That's what should
yeah,
happen.
Well, we'll
well,
talk
yeah,
about some hecklers later in the show, and we could get into that then. So
okay,
you
cool,
just
yeah,
basically did shows all weekend, it sounds like.
yeah. I've been busy. I've been trying
What
to
what
go
venues
ahead.
do you do shows out of?
What venues?
Mhm.
I do like a lot of the places in Tampa. Like I'm at Side Splitters tonight doing some time on a show. Um, Earlier this week I was at the Gimmick, and then I was at Sunshine City Comedy Club, and then Wednesday, where was I at Wednesday? Wednesday I was at the Vasani's Comedy Zone with Dean Napolitano. We did
Oh,
two
okay.
like we did two shows in the Comedy Zone, and it was really really good. Um, it was just a packed house full of old people who I love, and but no, it was fun. And then
But
Thursday I was
Simon
at
is like that.
yeah, Port Charlotte's crazy full of old people. And then Thursday I was at the library, which is booked by a guy named Gordon Myers. I don't know if you know Gordon Myers or not, but
Oh
he
yeah,
books that.
yeah.
Yeah, Gordon's the man, and yeah, he booked me out there. That's where I got heckled. And then yesterday I ran a show for Hair On Entertainment in the St. Pete area. So,
Nice.
and
I
that was fun.
I actually had the opportunity of doing comedy on St. Pete Beach
Oh,
um,
okay.
last year. It was just an open mic, but I had gone out. That was my first time into that area, and I was like scavenging for mics while I was out there, and I could only find one, but that I could make it to anyway. So, Terry, how was your weekend?
Pretty slow in the Nashville world. Mainly just
You didn't
I
go to
had
that Klan
some.
rally?
What's that?
You didn't go to that Klan rally?
No, I didn't. I skipped it this time. Had a couple of really good meetings this past week. Hence the shaved face. Had to get rid of the beard for those. But no, some good opportunities maybe coming up in the future for me. So we'll see. We'll see how
Yeah,
that works out. I might be putting on shows at my old place now. So
that would be exciting.
yeah.
That would be exciting. All right. Well, my weekend, I'm in Austin.
No,
That's
of
why we're
course.
running a little late. And I just like hung out with my family. I did have a show at Slackers Brewing Company here in Austin last night, and it was nice. I featured and met some new comics. We'll be getting one on the podcast coming up. So, nothing too exciting other than getting to perform in Austin. I didn't do too much. I
Did you get
might try
to
to go get on that open mic at the mothership tonight, but it's so hard to get on there.
you
So,
run into Cam Patterson at all?
no, I haven't seen Cam since I've been here. The show I was at last night was kind of like on the not downtown, and Kill Tony and all that. That's downtown. And I
Okay.
really honestly don't know if Cam would recognize me. I've seen it. I've been on shows with him or contests but I don't know that he would know me because he was a little bit more of an Orlando comic, as I understand, right?
Yeah, that's where I worked with Cam several times in Orlando. We did like Milk District together, or we were on the improv. We were on a show at the Improv together with David Jolly. So that's how, yeah, Cam and I go back a little
Yeah.
bit. Very
Nice,
happy
nice.
for him.
That's a good connection to have here, actually. He came in
Yeah.
and hit it hard, right? All right.
He just told me to text him. Yeah.
Speaking of Cam Patterson, who is on Kill Tony, um, many of you may be familiar with David Lucas, who was also a Kill Tony darling. Now, this week, he got into big trouble at a show. I believe it was in Kansas City, where he was getting heckled by, I think, a black man. And then he, you know, he roasts people in the crowd, especially if you're heckling him. And he said, basically, like, the guy deserved the George Floyd treatment, except he wouldn't have stood on his neck. He would have just shot that nigga. That's what he said. I can say that, guys. You can't. Okay.
We know.
Oh yeah, you think so? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I've lost it. But guys, why do you think he walked this audience over this George Floyd joke? Who's to blame here? Is it the audience? Is it David? Is it the culture? What do you guys think? Why don't we let Nate chime in first?
Well, I'm familiar with David Lucas a little bit. I was telling Terry I haven't been watching a crazy amount of stand-up lately, but like what I'm familiar with is he's a little bit of on the side of like being a provocateur, kind of. And it seems like I don't know. It seems like sometimes when you're doing that, like when an audience becomes accustomed to a certain edge you provide, it kind of loses it because people come to expect it. And I feel like you get to a point where you have to just keep pushing it further and further and further. And it gets to a point where it might not even be funny, but like, I mean, I would have to see the set to kind of fully understand the context. But like, I don't know, you get to a point where some people in your audience are like, all right, that's too much for me. And I mean, you know, he could have done that for another audience and it went well, but like, I have no idea. It seemed like out of left field from what I read, but like, this is just, I'm definitely a spectator. I don't fully know the situation. I'd have to watch the video myself.
Yeah.
Well, you're absolutely, you're spot on with provocateur. He is a Patrice O'Neill type. He does cite that as one of his major influences. So yeah, definitely pushing the buttons. But when it comes to stuff like this, the heckler is always wrong. Always. I don't care. I mean, we've heard many big comics come out and say, you know, you can't go into the harsh environment of a comedy show and expect it, you know, to not be offended about whatever offends you. But to when you verbalize and you make the show and you make yourself a part of it, you know, this is a professional roaster here. This is a professional comedian that, you know, is probably going to be better at it than you. And not only that, like you said, he more pushes the envelope than most comedians, and he's got a microphone and you don't. So he's always going to win.
Well, I want to go back to what Nate was saying. And I think that if you're opening the door for that, because a lot of comedians, they're building their careers on crowd work. And then you have a crowd member come in and keep your energy. And then, I mean, but that's your energy. So I think it's the culture, personally, for me, who's to blame. I think comedy, these little reels and stuff, people like that quick back and forth between the crowd, and they're going to shows expecting that, especially from David Lucas, who's on Kill Tony, right? And if you've watched David Lucas has no bounds when it comes to what he's going to say. I watched the interview he did with Willie D, because, you know, I want to see the Black perspective, because for me, and then I'm a comedian, so, and I know in comedy, you've got to get that shit off your shoulder. You can't be offended all the time, because I, you know, started comedy. You're going to hear racist jokes. You're going to hear misogynist jokes. You're going to hear jokes about suicide. You're going to hear jokes about something you don't want to hear about. But that's part of comedy, right? So when it comes to
also checked out that Willie D interview. That was pretty eye-opening. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of that interview, Terry?
I think he was spot on. I think
Willie D or David Lucas?
No. Willie D's always a little pandering to me, but as far as his interview style goes. But no, I feel like he came out there and he said, no, this is what I do, you know, and if somebody interrupts my show and I go hard at them, you know, we don't play, you know, we play with live ammunition here. So if you come and make yourself a part of my show, and not only that, I also had the thought, like, when you mentioned, you know, crowd work being so popular on platforms like TikTok, not to mention there has been an influx of comedians using plants at their show, people who are specifically there to cause certain incidents, just to try and get that good clip that's going to go viral, so it's a minefield out here.
It's making a mockery of stand-up.
It is. This is outrageous.
The crowd work point to me is interesting. That's something I've noticed too, is what you guys mentioned with like the crowd work culture becoming so popular is people feel like they have like an open invite to go to a show and like holler out at people. And it's just like, no, you don't get to fucking do that. Like, I mean, sometimes there's audience members who, you guys have probably experienced this, who they might comment on something where they're genuinely just trying to be polite and kind of participate in the show. But it's a totally other thing to just like shout something out. And if the headliner is known for, saying, antagonistic, edgy stuff, you shouldn't be shocked when he goes there and then you suddenly walk out like you're a fucking victim. It's like, you're not. You brought that on yourself. And, you know who you paid to see. Like if a comedian's the headliner and you didn't know you were going to see him, then that's your problem,
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Like, why would you be there to see David Lucas and then walk out on a joke? That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's different.
But listen, I want to talk about like last night, right? I was at the show at this place and the host was doing his jokes and he's doing STD jokes. The show just started and this couple gets up and leaves. And I'm like, really? Y'all are offended on the STD joke? And it's quite suspect if you get out and walk out where the STD
somebody's got gonorrhea.
Like, we're just going to
it's a self-report.
Sit your ass down and enjoy the show.
That's exactly right. It's a self-reporting situation. That's right.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, look, it's different if I don't know if you guys remember, but when Full House was back in its most popular days, back in the 90s, people used to say, "Oh, Bob Saget's coming to town," and they march on down to the comedy club thinking they're getting Danny Tanner, and then they see Bob Saget's act, and it is very much not Danny Tanner. So
I know.
That's
was totally delighted.
Yeah, that's a different story. It's the same way I used to work with John Lovitz. I did a weekend with. And everybody marches down there and they say, "Oh, this is the acting guy from SNL," or "Yeah, that's the ticket, that guy." And they don't expect him to be such a, political comedian with pretty, obvious right conservative views. So they don't expect that. That's a different story, because then you are kind of getting bear trapped or sandbagged. But
yeah, and you don't want to get sandbagged into being one thing, especially if you're like have a character that you play. You don't want to be sandbagged, especially if you also do stand up. And another area you don't want to be sandbagged in is when you're a teacher. You don't want to be sandbagged to just teaching. You might want to be on OnlyFans too. Guys, another teacher has been fired from being on OnlyFans. And this time it's not just another teacher. It's none other than Rachel motherfucking Dolezal. Who's to blame? Now, if you can't remember who Rachel Dolezal is, she was the white lady that was running the chapter of NAACP or some black group in her area, and she was posing as a black woman. And now she has an Igbo name, which is Nigerian, on OnlyFans. Guys, what is going on? Who's to blame for this?
In all fairness to Nate, we have covered over the past 6 months or so, we have covered different teachers who have been fired because people found out they had OnlyFans pages, just to set the stage. But how do you feel about this?
I mean, as a teacher, I understand the pay is ass, but like, you got to understand you're playing with fire when you take that chance. I mean, if you take your face out, you maybe have a better chance, but like even in today's enlightened society, there remains a stigma to selling your titties online. So you got to understand the natural territory you're entering when you do that. Like, especially if you have a job where you're a teacher. Like if you're teaching 6th through 8th grade kids and they find out you have an OnlyFans, like, you're fucked. Like that's the thing that the school takes very seriously. It's like, I mean, I'm not saying like
they're
one way or
not
the
allowed
other.
to be on there.
Yeah, where are the parents in this? Why are the parents? You need a credit card to be on there. What?
Well, I'm a realist, and I understand that they shouldn't be on there. I agree they shouldn't be, but like obviously we know that. I mean, kids are watching porn at younger and younger ages, which I hate pornography, but like I understand it's just when you're an 11-year-old and it's there, you're going to find it by accident. You're going to go back. I mean, if you find your teacher, there's going to be hell to pay. Like, I mean, if word spreads throughout the school, which it very quickly will, the
Yeah,
principal's going to
absolutely.
find out said teacher has an OnlyFans, and then that's a death sentence to your career. And then also that's a stain on your reputation, because if you got fired from your job because you had an OnlyFans, I mean, imagine having to disclose that to your next employer. Like, oh, why'd you get fired? Oh, I just thought I'd make
Well,
an
that's
extra
what
rack a month.
lying is for.
Yeah.
Don't even tell them about that job. Don't even tell them
Well,
about
I mean, in all honesty, like you can't expect. We treat teachers like shit in this country. We don't. We give them the worst job in the world.
Certainly.
Louis C.K. does a fantastic bit on it where, he does a whole bit on teachers. He's like, no, we pay you nothing. You have to teach kids that don't want to learn. These are total strangers to you that just happen to live near the building, and then we pay them nothing on top of it. And you can't tell these female teachers like, oh, you can't go make $100,000 a year over here selling pictures of your feet because this is a sacred position you've taken. It's like, if it's so sacred, then why can't I get a decent pension, and why can't I get a decent paycheck if it's so sacred?
and why is it the woman's job to avert the male gaze? Like, why is it her fault that these kids are gonna go fucking look her up? It's not. They're not supposed to be on there. I do not think this is right. I don't think what teachers do outside of school, short of doing criminal activity, should have an effect on their jobs. Because maybe I think that someone who's always at the fucking shooting range shouldn't be teaching those kids either, but that's not stigmatized. You know what I mean? And it should be, because guess what happens in schools? Fucking shootings, like left and right. So,
Well, I would rather, if I had a kid in school, I would rather them see a pair of titties than a barrel, So
yeah, yeah.
there is a mixture
I
there. And me, I am a gun advocate, but still.
I'm not saying that like anybody should be fired, but it's just I know that's just how the world runs. So I mean, for her to go into it and not anticipate that as a potential consequence is, I believe, is a problem. And I think there's a covert way to do it, but like in terms of becoming more accepting of that can be discussed. But just understanding how the world operates and the framework that the world operates under, that she should have understood that was a potential consequence. But that being said, I'm not a teacher with big tits, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
If they
we're
would have had
men, Nate. We
OnlyFans
don't
when I
have
was
to.
teaching, I might have been on there. But
These aren't our issues, Nate.
But the thing about Rachel Dolezal is she has a famous face. So that has to be part of it for her to make as much as she's going to. Because we've talked about OnlyFans. Remember Cash Me Outside? As soon as she was legal, she became a fucking millionaire off OnlyFans. You know what I'm saying?
Multimillionaire.
So yeah, she's living up with the rich folks up in Jupiter now. Like, so
I think it's just it's a sign of the times, and it's an indicator of the state of our society. I don't think the internet was good for us. It was good in the beginning. We're like, oh, look at all these information, blah blah blah, and then it just brings out the worst in humanity, which is why every time a new piece of technology comes out, what's the first thing it's used for? Porn. It is the first thing that it's used for. Anytime a new robot is invented, they're like, okay, but can you have sex with it? It's always the first thing we go to.
Who's to blame for that? Men.
Yeah, porn and scams.
I don't know, man. Yeah,
it's mostly men. It's mostly
Speaking
us.
of men being to blame, I don't know about this one. At the Super Bowl, Taylor Swift got Kanye kicked out. Who's to blame, guys? Why do y'all think she did this?
This has been debunked already. It didn't
well,
no.
I think the Taylor stands and the Kanye stand. As a Kanye stan myself, I hate that term, but I guess I'm technically one because I really like the guy's music. But I don't know what I don't even know what a stan is. But no, I would say that
Eminem song. Okay, never mind.
There's like
all right, lame. That was lame.
It is. It's Eminem song. All right, go ahead.
I gotta grab here. Give me just a sec. I gotta grab my charger. One of you guys go first for my laptop. I gotta grab my charger.
Sure, sure. I think I really wished and wanted this to be true. You
So
know,
who debunked this? Because I thought Kanye said it. Like
yeah, but
Kanye
no, it was
Taylor got him booted. Basically, guys, if you don't know what happened, he was sitting right in front of her, and he goes on and he's like, "I did this on purpose so I could market my album." And then I guess he got kicked out. I don't know who kicked him out, why he got kicked out, but he's saying it was Taylor.
of course he's saying it was Taylor. Think about the free publicity that he's getting right now and the fact that people are talking about it.
So why did he get kicked out?
I don't think he did.
I didn't
get
even.
kicked out.
I didn't even know if he got kicked out or not. But no, I mean it.
I
It
don't
would
think
be
he
great
did.
press for both of them if he did. But and that's like the Kanye and the Taylor stands like wanna. They like really want there to be like this long-standing beef between the two, even though Kanye himself kind of debunked that whole thing where he was just like, "Yeah, I don't have anything against Taylor or her fans," you know, and I don't know. It's one of those things that'll probably never die on the internet because Taylor fans will forever hate Kanye for the VMA shit, and then Kanye fans will forever be like, he made her famous" type stuff. Which I don't know. Patrice O'Neal has the best opinion on that, so.
I made that baby famous. That's his song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
What was Patrice O'Neal's point on that?
Patrice said he's like, it was the perfect thing for Taylor because she's this small little precious white girl who was attacked by a black man. So it's got this perfect lens of victimization that just made her super popular. So even though maybe she was selling before that, that just made her even more popular. So he was like, Kanye is not really wrong.
Well,
America wanted to protect, didn't she?
Right, exactly, right. It's exactly it. The white girl.
It definitely
put
a lot of people. It put her name into the heads of a lot of people who didn't know who she was during that whole thing. So yeah, she definitely got some. She definitely. I'm not going to say she got new fans off of that, but she definitely got some people. A step into the direction of a household name.
Yeah.
So y'all think no one was kicked out, and basically it's publicity that's to blame here for.
I think Kanye did that, left, and then told that story to try and get another big news story about it, but it didn't really work.
You never know because they lying now. Apparently Ruffles got Chris Brown kicked out of this celebrity basketball game, and Chris Brown goes online and calls him out, and they're like, "We had nothing to do with it." So maybe she really did, and she's just trying to, or maybe whoever would have had the authority to kick out Kanye. Nobody really wants him there.
I don't know. I still like Kanye. I would still hang out with him, even though he's not the most popular person right now. But like, I think some people will just take like a few details or a few rumors and just fucking run a mile with it in the age of like instant information and like instant clicks and instant news. People just want there to be a story right away. So even if he didn't get kicked out, or even if he did, it's like, I think where all the lies and like all that stuff comes from is people just trying to make stories immediately, like when something happens or when there's word of mouth. So I think that's to blame here for like all that. And then Kanye's a genius because he knows about the concept of instant word of mouth, instant clicks and all that. And he takes full advantage of it. And that's why all these people are like, oh, Kanye's obsessed with attention. It's like, yeah, you're the person giving it to him. So, I mean, you're just as guilty, if not more guilty than he is. You're the one consuming it and like shitting on him. It's like, you're the reason that dude has been famous for 20 years, besides his, unmatchable discography. But, that's for another conversation.
You don't have to, I have a hard time letting Kanye go. I haven't let him go. I listen to his music. And speaking of, he had a new album just come out that kind of coincides with this whole incident. And, it's escalated to like, is it Taylor's fans or Beyonce's fans are trying to like keep him from his album from being number one? Or at least that's what he's saying. I'm reading his Insta and he just goes off on these rants, and maybe the
Kanye goes
isn't
off?
always accurate. Maybe the information is not always accurate. You know who else gives inaccurate information that I am glad just got in trouble is President Trump. We have a president now who's had He can't even open businesses in New York, guys. Who's to blame?
I don't know.
Look,
I mean, that's crazy. You know.
everybody in New York, everybody who's ever had business dealings in New York has known about Trump's, business dealings. They all know how he operates. As I said famously, he still owes me $16,000 from my work on Palm Beach Island. So, like, you kind of knew what you were getting into. And as I've said from the beginning, when Trump ran in 2015, I said, I can't believe this guy is putting himself in the public spotlight, in the political arena, because we all knew how many skeletons he had in the closet. And it's normally, if you have that kind of background, you want to be in the shadows. You don't want to be in the public eye in a political way, because there's so much to be used against you. But I mean, he is Teflon Don, and everything seems to slide off of him. So it doesn't
But
seem
not
like
this
any of
time.
this is, well, I mean, yeah, kind of, but he's still going to run in November, and he's still got a very good chance to win again. So who
And he could
knows?
probably still open a business in New Jersey. Like,
Yeah, just go across the bridge. It's
we
fine.
just can't open it in New York. Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What if he had somebody else open a business and he just like had that person list him as a third party or something? That'd be wild.
Yeah.
I don't know how all that works, but he
Yeah,
can
No,
find
'cause-
loopholes. I mean, the dude's got access to the best legal team in the world if he wants, because he has all the money in the world. So it's like he can find
I
out
don't
the
know about that.
loopholes and all that.
I
You
don't know
I think
about
that
that.
I don't know.
Lawyers are jumping off that ship left and right, because again, he has a history of not paying. He still owes $2.3 million to Rudy Giuliani, and and
and he's
he's
on
is
GoFundMe.
yeah, and he's
He's on GoFundMe
geez,
right now to pay his
America's mayor. What
Well,
happened?
I say I don't know enough about like what he's been through recently. I just know that he could probably get access to like some of the best information in the world, like good information if he really wanted to. But
Oh yeah,
And
he's definitely going
people
to
will
find a
still fuck
loophole
with him.
around
Like,
this.
people will still fuck with him. Like you said, he could do it through a third party. Someone would step up and do it for him because they worship this guy. You know what I'm saying? So, I
yeah,
don't think him getting his business banned is really a big deal. I mean,
yeah.
like,
He'll
are
be
they going to shut down his existing businesses? Like,
What do you have to change
somebody,
the name on
somebody
Trump
else
Tower
has to run
now?
him? Yeah, his name's on
Yeah,
everything. Yeah, is it going to be
yeah.
called not Trump Tower? I don't
yeah.
know.
Formerly known as, is he going to do the Prince thing?
He gonna call it Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah,
He
I
gonna
don't
call it
know.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
taller Mar-a-Lago. Mm.
I don't know.
Which I don't
I
even
have
get the deal with Mar-a-Lago. I've been there several times. It's old. It's not my cup of tea. I've been in the main ballroom. It looks like Versailles with all the gold and all that. And it's not my cup of tea. And I have no idea why people think that place is so nice. Because like I said, I've been there many times. And as a former building inspector, it definitely needs a lot of work. But anyway, that's
Nate,
just
you
my
were about to
personal
say
thing.
something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, all I know about Trump is the motherfucker knows how to make me laugh. I don't know anything else about because I've never voted in an election in my life, so I just like watch
So not
politics
political.
so I just
Yeah.
watch politics as entertainment. It's so funny. Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
nobody can love him or hate the guy. You can't take away the fact that he is hilarious as a politician. We've never had a
Oh,
politician
God,
like this
yeah,
that just. And I think Shane Gillis does the best bit about
yeah,
pulling that out, where it's like
certainly.
he just came out in the debates and he was like, "You're ugly," and it's like nobody ever thought about just going grade school on him and being like, "You
Yo,
smell, you
I
pooped in
want
your
to
pants."
see. I want to see Trump versus David Lucas. That's the battle
Oh,
I want to
that would be
see.
great. I think
And you know
Trump
what?
loses that one.
He is funny, but he does not govern funny. He scares us. You know, like, it's scary because you don't know what
Mm.
this fool what's gonna be the end result for all of
Hey,
us. The way he
hopefully our
talks.
institutions hold. That's all.
Did you guys hear the Trump and Kanye collab with the Trump shoes?
I did recently hear
I
this,
did
and
not
I
know
saw
Kanye
those shoes. They are
collaborated
the
with him on
ugliest
this.
shoes. Who would wear those gold
They
shoes? That's
booed him.
crazy.
They booed him when I did
Oh
not know
man,
Kanye collabed with him on that. No.
Yeah.
Well, when you're accused of being anti-Semitic,
Lucky
the
he
worst
is
thing
such
you
a
can do
musical genius. Okay, like God, yay! Come on, man.
if you're
Mm.
if you're being accused of being racist or anti-Semitic, the worst thing you can do is team up with Kanye at this point. I mean, because you know what I mean. It's hat on a hat. But
All
anyway,
right. Enough blaming. I want
yep.
to get to know and welcome our comedian, Nathan C. Roscoe. Welcome, Nathan. Or is it
Hey,
Nate?
how are you?
I see Nate
It's
on here, or do you go by Nate? How do you go as a comedian, Nate or Nathan?
I go by Nate. Nathan's my full first name, but yeah, I go by Nate usually. Yeah.
Okay. We had it Nathan on the sheet, and I just saw Nate on here, so I introduced you as Nate at first, but now I'm
Yeah,
like,
All right.
that's all right.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's a comedian out of Florida, and we just want to get to know you. So tell us how you got started doing comedy.
Well, I when I was 17 and 16, I started watching a lot of Louis C.K. and George Carlin, and yeah, I just loved the kind of their ability to be so. I had my little counterculture phase when I was like, I mean, I was still pretty counterculture, but like it was much stronger when I was 17, and I just admired their ability to say things like so absurd, but in a way that made people laugh. So I tried stand up when I was 18 and I bombed horribly, but I loved it. Like I walked off, I'm like, I can't wait to do that again. So yeah, then like a few months later I did another mic, and then a few months later another one, and then one guy told me, he's like, his name's Matt Carter. He told me, he's like, hey man, I run a mic every Sunday, you should come through. And I was like, okay. So I started doing it every week, and then just started finding more and more mics, and yeah, I've been doing it ever since. I mean, you take COVID out of the equation, that was kind of the only break I've really had from comedy. But yeah, no, I've
So
been doing.
since when? Because you kind of went with your age, and I can't tell how old you might be.
Oh, I'm 23 now, but I started when I was like almost 19 years old, like right before I was 18. And
Nice.
so yeah, March of 2019 is when I started doing it pretty much every week. But if you take COVID out of the equation, I've been doing it for about 4.5 years. So
Okay. And with COVID in the equation, you want to say about 6.
no, probably 5 if you take COVID in, but we're coming up on 5 if what is it? If you take COVID into the equation, it's about 5. We're coming up on
Okay.
5 soon.
And we've
But
had this conversation as to whether 2020 counts. If you did one show in 2020, I say it counts. That's what I say.
Yeah, because you were in
yeah,
Florida. I don't think we were shut down. I
No,
know
no,
I
but
was.
I went like 4 months without it because we were shut down for several months. We didn't really
Okay.
open back up for a while. That's why I say that, but
You don't have to, not with us, because I definitely count COVID. I mean, as soon as it
okay.
opened back up, I hit them streets again.
I was
But
doing shows in Palm Beach County and up in Jupiter, and as early as like the summer, like June, we were back doing shows in
yeah.
2020. So we were doing them outside. It was a very new
Okay, yeah.
experience, but we were doing them. So I
What's
still count it.
what's your favorite venue? And you can't say.
Can't say the improvs. No A rooms.
You can
Well,
say A rooms, just no improv.
It's too well. The A rooms and improvs. It's too easy. Everybody would
well,
pick them.
it's now the Funny Bones, so I can say that. No, I'm kidding. Side Splitters Comedy Club in Tampa is my favorite room because the staff is great. The guy who runs the club, BT, is great. And then no, yeah, he just brings in some like world class talent. Like, he might not bring in Tracy Morgan like at the Improv, but he'll bring in like your Mark Normans, your Ari Shafirs, your Sam Morrills, Dan Soder, like all these New York comics who are like working their way up to becoming legendary. He'll also bring in every now and then like your Louis C.K.'s, your Bobby Kelly's, like these huge names, these huge comedic forces will come through. I mean, I watched Dice recently live and it was terrible, but he'd bring in like Dice and stuff like that. But it's he
I'm
just
over
brings
here
in
like
like some
Dice
of the
still
best
going.
people.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Dice is very much still going. He's hilarious on Instagram.
Um, so has you comedy taken you on travels yet? Have you gone out of the state or around Florida? Tell us about that.
I've driven pretty much all across the state. Like the Vasani's Comedy Zone is in Port Charlotte, and that's pretty far. I've been to Boca Raton to do comedy. Um, I've been to the Dania Beach Improv to do some stand up. Orlando. I did the Comedy Zone in what is it? The I'm trying to think of what it is in Fort Walton Beach. I've done that one. I've been to the one in Georgia, the Loft. I've done all these comedy zones. I've also done shows in New York City and also Los Angeles,
Nice.
which is cool. Like in Los Angeles, I did one with a guy named Darren Carter, who's a pretty successful working comic, and then in New York City, I got to do a show on the same. I was on the same show as Dan Saint Germain, who's fucking hilarious. And yeah, some of my friends who are like well established live in like LA or New York City, and I've gotten some cool opportunities just because of that. So, like one of my favorite people in comedy, one of my heroes is Jeff Dye, who lives in LA, and yeah, we got to hang out, and I've opened for him numerous times. He's one of the coolest guys ever. And then yeah, I've just had some cool people. That's why I've been able to do stuff in LA, New York, and other states. So I'm very thankful for what I've gotten.
That's pretty amazing. It seems like you've gotten to travel to some cool places and perform with some very big names. So what's been your proudest moment in comedy?
Oh man, I don't really have any moments yet where I'm like, that's amazing. But I mean, I've gotten to do rooms in front of like 300 people. Like I did the World Series of Comedy at McCarty's Comedy Theater, and I think it was sold out. And I think that room seats like 325 or something like that. And yeah, that set was awesome. And just getting to do, and then getting to work with like awesome guys like Jeff Dye, like some of my favorite comedians, like Jeff Dye, Preacher Lawson, Quinn Dale, and some of these other guys. It's just really cool to share the stage with people I really like. Dave Landau. I worked with Dave Landau recently, and that's been one of my favorite moments is working with Dave. He's one of the coolest dudes ever. And yeah, just really just sharing the stage with really cool people. It's probably my favorite part about doing comedy, and my friends.
What's been your biggest challenge doing comedy?
Oh, it's certainly been like since I started working full time like last year. Last year was hard for me because I was like working full time and trying to, because I started stand up when I was like in college and I was working part time, and
Mm-hmm.
you know I was able to do comedy in the evenings and I still had like energy, but then like when I started working full time somewhere, I it was a lot more challenging because the 40-hour work week at like a regular job is fucking brutal. And
Yeah.
I would barely ever have the energy to come home and like go to shows. And it's like I also do like I have other hobbies, like I like to do martial arts and stuff. So trying to do all of that and survive and get enough sleep and all that and take care of yourself is like damn
So
near impossible.
you're going full Joe Rogan right now,
Well,
just martial arts, workouts, and
well,
then comedy.
I
Gotcha.
haven't shaved my head yet, so
He's
but
young.
maybe we'll get
He's
there at some
young.
point.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
Rogan used to have hair. Look up news radio.
I Yeah, I mean I've never smoked weed before, so yeah.
Mm.
Oh wow. Are you
Well,
really
neither
a
did he
comedian?
until he
I'm
did.
kidding.
So we're gonna get you on
All
some
right.
DMT and get you in a float tank.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest challenges. But we were talking before about a big challenge you had this weekend with a heckler. Tell us about that.
Oh man, that was a lot. I was already so I did a set at the Library Comedy Club in Punta Gorda, and I was already under a little bit of pressure because I was essentially auditioning to be a feature there, and I'd done guest spots there like 3 or 4 times, and then the booker brought me back. He's like, "We want you to feature this room." I'm like, "Okay," and he told me I was expecting to do 20, and I tried to do 20 clean because he likes the room to be on the cleaner side, like, and clean to
Mhm.
him is just no profanity, which is wild to me. But he just said, we want you to do 25 tonight because that's this time slot for a magic comedy show because the headliner was a magician who also was funny, I guess. And yeah, I was already under a lot of like stress and pressure for that. I was like, okay, 25. I wasn't expecting to do that, but I'll figure it out. So I went up there and it was good. It was a good set. And Like I went up there, there's like comedy stuff on the stage, and I was like leaning against it. I'm like, if I lean against this magic stuff the wrong way, I might fucking, everybody might have a rabbit in their laugh. Just like riffing jokes, and like the audience was liking it. And I was trying some new jokes, and they were liking it. And then this one lady, I told this joke. I said, "There's some really attractive teachers out there. Some of them I see, I'm like, I would love to put you on the news." It's a joke about hot teachers, and this lady fucking booed me. And I don't know why she booed me. I still don't know why. Because I think what it was.
Sucks. That's why.
It must be because there's nothing even remotely offensive about a joke about teachers being hot. Like that's actually an incredibly positive angle. There's almost like there's no way to be offended by that unless you're a teacher who's fucking ugly. But I don't even think she was a teacher. That is fucking ugly. She was, but like teacher.
I totally understand. I used to get railed
but
over a Jewish joke, but it was making fun of Germans. But still, I would get yelled at by Jewish people, and I'm like, I'm making fun of your
Harry. That's way different than calling somebody. Commenting on teachers' appearances.
Just saying.
So go on.
I think I deduced it as were you telling me to go on? I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
No, go on. I was telling you to go on.
I think I deduced it to there was one 23-year-old kid in the crowd, my age, and the rest of Punta Gorda is like Port Charlotte. They're old. They're like the average age is 63. So I was doing a little crowd work with him because I'm like, dude, you're me. You're one of me. And I was just talking to him, and I was like, hey, you dude, you know what I'm talking about. Some of these teachers are really hot. And then she just booed me. And I think that's what it had to do because I was talking about how like we're the odd ones out because we're not fucking old. And then, she booed me. And I was like, I don't understand why you booed me because there's nothing offensive about the joke. And then the audience was like, started clapping because they like agreed with me. And then, what was it? And then later on, I did a joke about marriage and like, Gen Z doesn't understand marriage. And then, I said something where I was just like, it's hard out there for 23-year-olds to date, which is just, it is. And then she was just like, then move. And I was like, move. And I was like, what are you? I didn't realize she said move. I was like, are you a fucking cow? Moo. And I like mooed, and the audience thought that was funny. And then she was like, if you don't like it here, move. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, did I shit in your cereal this morning? I don't understand why you're so upset at me. I don't even live here. I was brought here from Tampa. And then she's like, well, then don't make fun of the people that live here. And I'm like what? I mean,
I'm a comedian. Well, of course I'm going to make fun of the people who live here.
My response to that was I was just like, well, you're making it pretty easy. And then the crowd really liked that. And then I was like, can you just stop? I'm up here trying to do my job. I got hired to be here. And she's like, well, you're sucking at your job. And then I was like, really? Do you guys think I'm sucking at my job? And then the crowd was just like, no, like just like completely on my side. And I was like, well, here's the thing. If you don't want me to make fun of the audience, maybe you should just shut the fuck up. Audience went crazy, and then she shut up, and that was it. And I would call back to it every now and then, or I'd be like, yeah, you guys are a really great crowd, except for, just like look over at her, and then the crowd would lose their shit.
It's always a great feeling when the crowd joins you against the heckler,
Yeah,
that's like then you feel like you're in the right, like you're not.
It's vindication.
She's just or that person's just anyway. All right, tell us a little bit about you personally. Like, I mean, you told your age, but like, where are you from? We know your day job. You're a teacher. Do you have any family? Are you married? Kids? Whatever. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm not a teacher, but
that's Rachel Dolezal.
I thought he said he was a teacher too. Okay, never mind.
No. Well, I don't actually I don't currently have a day job, but I'll explain that more in a second. Terry knows about the channel, but what was I going to say? A lot about me personally. I've lived in Tampa my whole life, but my parents are like not from here, so they like moved here when I was young. And I've lived here my whole life, and for work, I make YouTube videos, and I make some money doing that, and it's enough to like feed myself and everything. So I'm happy about that. I'm certainly not like rolling in money, but like, I'm doing okay.
No, that was part of the question I was going to ask at the end was like, do you have any other projects like a podcast? I know about the
Yeah.
YouTube channel. I definitely checked it out before. So tell us about your YouTube channel and what your goal is there.
Well, I just the YouTube channel originally was me trying to like do like man on the street stuff, reaction video type stuff, and then I when the 2 year anniversary of the late Norm Macdonald his death, when that came around, I was like, you know what? I'm trying to get monetized on YouTube. I have enough subs. I have enough watch hours. I made a tribute to him, and it got like almost 2 million views. Uh, why don't I make a documentary with my own commentary and just make it to honor the dude? And I did, and the video ended up blowing up, and I was able to monetize my channel because of that. And I was like, you know what? I already know so much about like old comedy history, kind of like a comedy historian. I'll just make videos about this stuff. So I did another one on Patrice, and that blew up, got like 200,000 views. Um, and I was like, I'm good at this. I know how to make these videos well, so I'm just going to do this. So now I kind of just do, these deep dives on comedians, kind of like mini documentaries. I
Mm-hmm.
do, I do like kind of like mini documentaries about like certain things that happened. Like I did one on the Philly rant, Bill
Yeah.
Burr's Philly rant. I did one on, what is it? Kramer's Laugh Factory meltdown. I did one on recently on Norm getting kicked out of Iowa. Like all
That
these
was
like
great.
little,
Yeah.
yeah. It's oh, dude, it's one of my favorite comedy stories ever.
And not enough
But
people know it. That's why I was so happy when I found that video. I was like, this is one of the greatest comedy stories ever, and not enough people know
yeah,
about it.
well, yeah, or there's not like there's a couple people who've like talked about it, but there wasn't really to me like a video that was kind of encapsulated everything about it that was unique. So with my channel, I'm basically looking to just kind of talk about like all this comedy stuff that I think is really interesting and really unique that I don't think there's enough of online. And I think there absolutely is a market for it with like all these channels about comedy, drama, and all that popping up. I'm like, I don't really like to dive into the negativity too much, but I like to talk about some of these things that I think are fascinating. So I try to minimize the negativity. I mean, I'll talk about it sometimes, but I try to just make videos that I think in the comedy world there aren't enough of. So
Yeah, I
that's really
noticed
what
that
I
about your
do.
videos. Your videos are very just informative, I felt like, you know what I mean?
Mm,
And I couldn't wait
thank
to
you.
get your opinion on the David Lucas, your take on the David Lucas thing. So that was
Mm.
um especially because that's how you kind of view it. Like you're just going through the facts of whatever happened. But anyway. All right, are you ready
I
to play the blame game, Nate?
What about you this time?
I think so. I'll tell you what. You guys have actually inspired me. I'm probably going to make a David Lucas video on that incident now. So
You should.
Hey,
I
look at
can't
that.
wait to see
We're
it. I can't wait to
influencers,
see it.
Gio.
Um, all right, so you don't vote. Who's to blame?
who's to blame?
Yeah.
Probably the entire population of the country. I mean,
Don't blame
you
me.
know,
No, I'm just kidding.
He's blaming
well,
us.
no, it's probably kind of this like I don't know. It comes down to me. It comes down to like there's a lot of people who think that like the problem is everything but themselves. And like I'm a degenerate myself, but I know, like I'm aware of that. So it's like I think the lack of self-awareness where people are like, "Oh, how could someone possibly vote this way or the other way?" It's like, well, why don't you zoom out a little more and be like, why are our two options these two mongoloids? Like, why are these people our options? And then you realize that the option, I'm basically doing an old George Carlin joke, but it's like our options are directly proportional to the population. So it's like, where are all these bright people who want to run the country? It's like, yeah, bright people don't want to run the country because they realize how much of a fucking scam and like lunacy and all the just the fucking people over and all the horrendous shit that happens at the upper echelons of society. They don't want to do that. Like the
Yeah,
smartest people don't want to do that. They want to cash out, make a few $1,000,000, enough to retire, and then
that part.
escape.
Yep, that part. If you're smart, that's what you're doing. You don't want to work,
Yep.
and that's a fucking job.
Yeah.
Like
Certainly not in politics
that's a
because
fucking job.
Fuck no.
the toxic environment that politics is today, you couldn't pay me to even be a city councilor, much less a president.
Dude, that's
But give
like
me some
people
of
ask.
them.
Yeah. sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, just give me some money. I'll never talk about politics again. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's like people ask me all the time about political issues, and I'm like, dude, I don't really know anything about anything. It's like people ask me
Yeah.
about the Israel-Palestine thing. They're like, oh, what country do you support? It's like, well, Palestine hates America, and Israel has like fucked us over so many times. Like they sunk the USS Liberty, and anytime we bring that up, they call us anti-Semites. It's like, no, you guys, even though you're our biggest ally, have fucked us over so many times. Why do I care about either of these countries? I don't care about either of them. We should have nothing to do with this
I don't think
conflict.
it's about. I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not, but I don't think. I think it's more about the people that they care about. It's like innocent people dying, and that's
Of
what
course.
is moving
Of course.
people to discuss that. And I mean, I guess there's innocent people on both sides, right? But when it comes to the governments, yeah, those are some fucking guilty parties for sure. So,
Yeah, and
all right,
that's another thing. I was actually supposed to join the military. This is a long story. I don't know if we have time for it. And
yeah, we
I
got
got
time.
kicked out of the military for inappropriate jokes, but it's kind of weird because even though I was joining the military, I've never been a pro-war guy. Like I've never been pro-war. Like I think like America sticking our nose in like other people's wars and shit is just such a waste of time and money. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. You're you're using that as a way to tax civilians for a war that we shouldn't even be involved in. It's like war is such a fucking waste of time because it, the people who are being sent to fight the war, fuck them. It's the innocent people whose blood is shed that I really, really like
Yeah.
am sad for. You know,
But I'm gonna just chime in here and say it is not a waste of time for capitalists. Somebody
That's
is
right.
profiting off of these wars. So it's
Military
facts.
not
industrial complex, baby.
That's right.
all right.
That's right.
All right. Let's why don't you give out your socials? Tell them where they can find your YouTube channel.
I mean, I'm Nate Roscoe on everything. TikTok, Instagram is Nate_Roscoe, and then Nate Roscoe on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube. I make little mini docs on comedians. I'm making one right now on a comedian I really like. Oh, fuck it, I'll say the name. I'm making a documentary right now on Anthony Jeselnik. It'll probably be a 30 to 40 minute video because I think he has a very fascinating style, and I think yeah, I just think there's a lot to talk about there, and like kind of how he got into it and how he found his voice and you know, some of his influences and like what he's doing now. And yeah, just some of the cool shit he's done in his career. And then I think after that I'm going to make I'm going to make a video where I talk about the series Louis, like Louis' sitcom, because I think it's
Yeah,
brilliant.
it was
Oh,
brilliant.
Louis.
It
Oh,
was brilliant.
the series Louis losing that because of the whole scandal and everything is a huge detriment to the comedy world and the television world. I love that show so much. When it came out, it was like nothing else on
Yeah.
TV had ever been like that. Sorry,
Yeah,
but
that
Louis
you
is
pushed
like
my nerd
nothing
button on
else.
that one.
that
But
show reminded me how much I love Nick DiPaolo.
Yeah,
Because Nick DiPaolo reminds me so much of my family. Because I'm apolitical, but my family's like as Shane Gillis puts it, like Fox News parents, and I love them. And like kind of some of the angry
like, and
the
I
anger
love
they
him.
had. I do. I love them. I love them to death. My parents are the greatest people in the fucking world. But like, you know, some of the anger that they'll voice, like the the right wing talking points, it kind of like makes me chuckle. It like makes me laugh. And I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to my family like when I watch Nick DiPaolo. It's interesting. He's one of my dream comedians to work with for that reason.
All right. So, do you
Absolutely.
have any shows coming up you want to tell everyone about?
Oh, man, this week, do I have any shows coming up? I know I'm at the library next Friday again. But during the week I'll probably be doing mics. So that's pretty much the only show I can think of right this second I have coming up. And then I think I'll be at I'll probably end up at the World Series of Comedy in April, but we'll see about that.
Where's your Friday show at?
Punta Gorda, Florida.
Okay. The venue?
The Library Comedy Club, 33 Miami Trail. If you guys want to come and stalk me, so that's the address in Punta Gorda. No, but it should be a fun show. I'm looking forward to it because that one's only 20, so 20 is right in my wheelhouse. I could do 20 TV clean pretty easily.
Nice.
Nice. All right, Terry, what are your words for white people this week? You got to listen, Nate. I'm gonna take off. No, I'm just
Um,
I love us. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So this week I want to say to the honkies, the word this week is goldfish. And the reason I had this thought was because, I was in South Florida, doing comedy for 12 years, and recently moved to Nashville, which is a very different environment. Like, I'm from Tennessee originally, but coming back after 15 years in South Florida it's a crazy culture change. And especially now, especially in this year, which is an election year, and we were talking about politics. Well, a lot of people are just like Nate here, and they say, I'll be a spectator in this, and that's fine. But a lot of people in my community now are very much not that. And I am always of the opinion that I don't care what you believe in or who you're supporting. The second you put a giant flag in the back of your truck, you've kind of lost my respect for your opinion. You know what I mean? There's a difference between being supportive of somebody's views and being a fan of somebody. And when we take politicians and we turn them into rock stars, that's not going to be good for anybody. There's a reason why we had politicians and rock stars separately. So as we go into this new election year, and I remember what 2020 was like, and I remember what 2016 is like, I would advise everybody just try to have a short memory. Have your views, have your beliefs, participate in the democratic process of America, do your civil responsibility. That's great. I'm all for it. But then let it go. Otherwise known as having a short memory, just like a goldfish.
Yeah. Instead of telling me what your political views are, tell me what your favorite Kanye album is. That's how I get to know you as a person.
Yeah, or just tell me what you're into other than politics. You like woodworking? Yeah. I like woodworking. Let's woodwork together. So
I like politics. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course you do.
I am the blame girl after all. All right. Well, it's been a great time, guys. Thank you, Nate, for joining us.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
It's funny. I was doing comedy down there all those years. I never met Nate, even though we were in the same state. But I found him through his YouTube channel. I think anybody who likes comedy, anybody who likes comedy history should definitely check it out at Nate Roscoe on YouTube. Also, go on Amazon, buy a copy of my book. It's Unclaimed Ashes.
Yes, I forgot. And you can catch Nate in Punta Gorda next Friday at the library. And I have a few shows coming up this week. I've got me and Brian Drolet's Funny Days at O'Shea's in Clematis on Tuesday. And then on Saturday, I can't tell you about that one. And then on Sunday, I'll be at Red Light.
No show.
And then on Monday, I'll be at 14 North next Monday. So
obviously Saturday's a no-tell.
No. We'll do the show on Sunday. It's Sunday night, so we can do the show next Sunday. So until next week, guys, thank you. Hang around, Nate.
Yeah, for sure.
I just got to figure out how to get off of YouTube from here.
That's great.
All right, we might have to just end it, because I don't really know how to do it.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you for joining us. Bye, Terry. Talk later.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
All right. What's up?
We're still live. Okay, hold on. I think I figured it out.